They said country music was built on heartbreak, but nobody expected Keith Urban's to play out in a courtroom with FBI agents, leaked tapes, and Nicole Kidman's mother clutching receipts like she's holding a Grammy. Yes. Folks, the golden boy of Nashville just broke down in court after Maggie Baugh dropped what insiders are calling the most explosive evidence in music history. We're talking secret accounts, hidden deals, and love affairs that look straight out of a Scandal docu series. So the real question is, was Keith Urban a victim of betrayal, or the mastermind of his own downfall? Buckle up. This is about to get ugly. The courtroom was supposed to be quiet, but when Keith Urban stepped up to the stand, it felt like a concert gone wrong. Cameras flashed, reporters yelled, and somewhere in the chaos, Maggie Baugh's name echoed through the walls like a ghost from Keith's past that had finally come back for revenge for years. Keith Urban and Nicole Kidman sold the perfect Hollywood illusion, the supportive wife, the loyal husband, the fairy tale marriage. But as insiders now claim, that image was nothing more than a PR campaign with a country music soundtrack. Behind closed doors, there were whispers of missing money, strange transfers, and projects that Nicole never signed off on. And then Maggie Baugh happened. The rising country singer who once called Keith her mentor has now turned into his biggest nightmare. During the court session, Maggie allegedly produced secret voice recordings, payment receipts, and a cloud folder full of screenshots showing that Keith had been funneling money through fake charity AC counts. One of those charities was supposedly raising funds for young musicians. Turns out, it was actually paying for Keith's luxury villa in Queensland and a private jet lease under the name Urban Foundation Holdings. When Maggie's lawyer dropped the documents on the courtroom table, you could feel the air leave the room. Nicole Kidman sat still, her face unreadable. But her mother? Oh, she came ready for war. According to multiple sources inside the courtroom, Nicole's mother, Janelle, slammed her hand on the evidence box and whispered, "I told you he'd bury her career for his ego." And that's where it all started to spiral. Keith Urban, who had always been the image of calm, was visibly shaking. The man who sang about love, redemption, and peace now looked like someone watching his empire burn. Maggie's attorney, dressed like he was auditioning for Suits, didn't waste a second. He presented audio clips allegedly capturing Keith discussing asset transfers with an unnamed producer, believed to be connected to a foreign investment firm in New Zealand. And here's where it gets wild. The FBI reportedly got involved after noticing that one of the bank accounts in question had connections to offshore shell companies that had been under investigation for tax evasion since 2019. You can't make this up. As this information leaked, social media lost its mind. Twitter, or X as Elon wants us to call it, exploded with hashtags like #KeithUrbanExposed and #MaggieBaugh Fans who once defended him started posting crying emojis and memes saying he traded a Grammy for a scammy. Meanwhile, gossip insiders are saying that Nicole Kidman had been suspicious for months. Apparently, she had quietly hired a private investigator after noticing that one of her film accounts was mysteriously linked to one of Keith's nonprofit ventures. The discovery led her straight to Maggie's trail, late-night meetings, secret texts, and hidden messages about new funding sources. It wasn't just about money. It was personal. According to anonymous insiders, the kind that accidentally leaked to TMZ. Nicole found out that Keith had been secretly selling her music rights from their joint production label, rights that she had invested in as part of her film studio's music division. It wasn't millions. It was tens of millions. And if that wasn't bad enough, Maggie allegedly showed email exchanges proving that Keith offered her a cut in return for keeping silent about their creative partnership. Let's just say the word partnership has now taken on a completely new meaning in Hollywood. By the time the lunch break hit, Keith Urban's career looked like it was in freefall. The once celebrated star of Nashville was now a trending topic for all the wrong reasons. TMZ went live outside the courthouse, calling it the biggest celebrity courtroom shock since Step vs. Heard. Even late-night hosts began joking. Keith Urban took the word country to literally. He's got accounts in every country, and just when everyone thought it couldn't get any worse, Nicole Kidman stood up without saying a word. She walked to the witness stand, handed the judge a sealed envelope, and turned her back on Keith. The envelope, as sources claim, contained emails and financial statements from Keith's management team, proving that the fraud went deeper than anyone expected. The judge paused. Keith looked like he'd seen a ghost. And Maggie? She sat there, smiling like someone who'd finally won a war she never wanted to fight. The courtroom buzzed with whispers as Nicole Kidman's sealed envelope landed in the judge's hands like a ticking time bomb. Everyone, reporters, lawyers, fans, waited for what would come next. And when the first document was read aloud, the headlines practically wrote themselves. Keith Urban's double life exposed. According to the leaked paperwork, Keith had been using dummy production companies to reroute funds from joint ventures he and Nicole shared. These weren't small transactions. We're talking six-figure payments disguised as creative expenses going straight into personal accounts. One particularly bold transfer? A $250,000 equipment rental paid to a company registered under the name Baugh Entertainment LLC, and yes, you guessed it, that's Maggie Baugh's business. The moment that detail hit the courtroom, Nicole's attorney dropped the hammer. He revealed screenshots of text messages between Keith and Maggie that sounded more like coded love letters than business talk. One message reportedly read, "Keep quiet till the project's finalized. The reward will be worth it." Another one, "Don't talk to Nicole's team. They don't understand how art and investment work." Social media exploded again, because of course, it did. Within minutes, TikTok detectives had created timeline videos connecting Maggie's career boosts with every suspicious creative fund Keith had launched over the past 3 years. One viral post even claimed that Maggie's latest single was secretly financed using Nicole's film royalties. The caption said it best: she didn't just steal the spotlight, she stole the soundtrack. But while the internet laughed and gossiped, the FBI wasn't laughing. Federal investigators reportedly stepped in after discovering that one of Keith's shell accounts in Switzerland had been flagged in a 2019 global audit linked to celebrity tax shelters. Basically, it looked like Keith had been playing accountant with Monopoly money, except the Monopoly board was international banking. Inside the courtroom, Keith's team tried to spin the story. His lawyer argued that Maggie's evidence was nothing more than a bitter ex-associate's revenge plot, and that the documents were selectively edited. But that argument fell apart when the judge asked one simple question: why are your client's signatures on every single document? Boom, silence. You could almost hear Keith's public image shattering. And then came the recordings. Maggie's lawyer pressed play on a series of audio clips recorded during what she described as business meetings. In one recording, Keith's voice could allegedly be heard saying, "We'll run it through the Urban Foundation, then through the studio accounts. No one will trace it." Another clip? Keith allegedly telling Maggie, "Nicole's people are too slow. We'll just handle it ourselves." Nicole reportedly dropped her head into her hands during that moment. For years, she defended him, called him her anchor during Hollywood storms. And now, in front of the entire world, her husband's voice was literally confessing to the fraud everyone thought was just gossip. But wait, it gets even darker. New leaks suggested that Keith's financial manipulations went far beyond music. He had allegedly taken out insurance policies under his wife's production companies, listing himself as a beneficiary. Those policies totaled over $10 million. Insiders whispered that Nicole's mother discovered the scam while doing a background check for one of her daughter's new projects. One insider claimed when Janelle found the paperwork, she went straight to Nicole and said, "He's been cashing you out like a stock option." As this drama unfolded, celebrities started reacting online. A-list stars like Reese Witherspoon and Hugh Jackman, both known to be close friends of Nicole, reportedly unfollowed Keith overnight. Meanwhile, country music legends quietly deleted old collaborations from their Spotify playlists. Fans began joking that Keith Urban was officially being canceled by Nashville. By mid-afternoon, the courtroom turned from a legal proceeding into a live reality show. Cameras caught Keith wiping his eyes while Maggie's attorney announced that his client had more digital evidence stored on a private hard drive. He then claimed that if the Urban camp continued denying the accusations, the full recordings would be made public for transparency. Nicole's side was stone silent. They didn't need to say a word. The damage had already been done. The next day, headlines went feral. Nicole Kidman's mom hands over FBI files, Keith Urban's charity scandal deepens, Maggie Baugh's evidence hard drive worth millions. It was chaos, pure Hollywood chaos. Paparazzi swarmed Keith's home in Sydney, reporters camped outside the courthouse, and online sleuths began uncovering old interviews where Keith had suspiciously dodged questions about charity transparency. Suddenly, every smiling photo of him holding a guitar looked like the cover of a true crime documentary, and somewhere between that courtroom silence and the social media storm, Keith Urban, the man once called the golden heart of country music, had turned into the symbol of celebrity corruption gone wrong. But this wasn't over. The judge announced that the next session would involve a federal review of all Urban Foundation records. Nicole's legal team confirmed they'd filed a motion for financial separation, a move that hinted at a possible divorce. Filing in the coming days. And as Keith left the courtroom surrounded by flashing lights and reporters yelling his name, one photographer caught him whispering something under his breath. This wasn't supposed to happen like this. By the time the next hearing rolled around, the Keith Urban courtroom saga had turned into a full-blown media circus. Every major outlet, from TMZ to BBC Entertainment, was parked outside with their cameras locked on the courthouse steps. Reporters called it the trial that shook Nashville, and when Keith walked in, he didn't look like the smiling country boy fans knew. He looked like a man carrying the weight of every secret he ever tried to hide. The morning began with something no one expected. FBI agents walking into the courtroom carrying sealed boxes of financial records. The crowd gasped. The judge's gavel hit twice. Everyone knew this was no longer just a celebrity scandal. It had crossed into federal territory. Those boxes reportedly contained transaction histories, offshore transfers, and private bank statements that tied directly to Keith's foundations, his label investments, and Maggie Baugh's independent ventures. An insider whispered to a reporter, "They've got proof of everything, and that's why his team's been panicking all week." Meanwhile, Maggie sat silently at the front, her expression unreadable. She wasn't gloating, but she didn't look afraid either. When asked by the judge if she had any additional evidence, Maggie's lawyer calmly nodded and said, "Yes, Your Honor. A backup drive was delivered to the Bureau yesterday." Boom, another bombshell, according to early reports. That hard drive didn't just include financial data. It also had private recordings, internal emails, and even contracts that showed Keith's attempts to reroute Nicole's project funds into unrelated creative collaborations. Translation: he'd been borrowing from his wife's success to build his own empire, and then funneling parts of it into Maggie's rising music career. Nicole Kidman, who had kept her composure through most of the hearing, reportedly broke down in tears when one particular document was displayed, a confidential contract draft between Keith's management and Maggie's label, dated months before Nicole's own film fund collapsed. It was the smoking gun. The audience went silent. The judge leaned forward. The cameras outside went wild. Even more shocking? Nicole's mother, Janelle, took the stand again, this time with printed emails allegedly from Keith's accountant. One of them read, "We've moved the assets under the Urban account. Mrs. Kidman's name has been removed from the investment clause per your instruction." The judge looked directly at Keith and asked, "Did you authorize these transactions?" Keith's lawyer tried to interject, but the judge cut him off. "No, I'm asking Mr. Urban directly." Keith hesitated. Then, in a voice that was barely audible, he said, "I was advised it was temporary." You could practically hear the gasp echo across the room. Temporary? Try devastating. Devastating. Within hours, every news station had grabbed the soundbite. Keith Urban admits financial mismanagement in open court. Social media had a meltdown. Hashtags like hashtag Keith Urban trial and hashtag justice for Nicole began trending worldwide. Fans posted crying emojis, reaction videos, and edited clips of Keith's courtroom confession set to dramatic country ballads. Maggie Baugh, once a name known only to country music insiders, was now being branded the whistleblower who broke Nashville's silence. Her fan base doubled overnight, but not everyone saw her as a hero. Some called her a snake in a cowboy hat, accusing her of exploiting the situation for fame. Still, her decision to cooperate with the investigation put her in a surprisingly powerful position, especially after prosecutors confirmed she would not face charges, as long as she continued to assist the FBI. And then came the emotional climax no one saw coming. Nicole Kidman taking the stand herself. Her voice was steady, but her words cut like glass. She said, "For years, I believed in my husband, in our marriage, in our integrity. But when love is used as a cover for deception, it stops being love. It becomes business." That quote hit the world like a thunderclap. Within an hour, every entertainment page, celebrity blog, and gossip podcast had it plastered as their headline. Nicole had just ended the fairy tale with one statement: no tears, no drama, just cold truth. The judge adjourned the hearing, but not before confirming that the FBI's investigation into Keith's finances would proceed immediately. Sources claimed his assets were already being frozen pending review, and several sponsors had begun pulling out of his upcoming tour. One promoter even told Rolling Stone, "We're halting all events tied to the Urban Foundation until we know exactly where the money's been going back at home." Nicole reportedly began moving out of their shared mansion. Neighbors told paparazzi that moving trucks arrived in the early morning hours, and by noon, her personal items were gone. One source close to the couple told an Australian tabloid, "This was the last straw. She's done saving him." As for Keith, insiders say he's been calling his lawyers nonstop, trying to negotiate a private settlement to avoid more footage being leaked. But with Maggie's team cooperating with federal agents and Nicole's legal counsel demanding full financial transparency, that option is slipping away fast. And just when you thought it couldn't get more chaotic, the Urban Foundation's board members released a joint statement admitting inconsistencies in financial reporting. That's corporate talk for, yeah, things were shady, and we're trying to save ourselves now. The fallout has been brutal. Keith's music streams dropped by 60% overnight. Major brands began quietly cutting ties. His image as the clean-cut country gentleman is gone, replaced by a reputation tangled in fraud, betrayal, and scandal. Even celebrity friends have started distancing themselves, with one insider claiming Taylor Swift declined to comment on the matter, despite having performed with Keith multiple times in the past. You know it's bad when Hollywood's queen of Easter eggs doesn't even drop a lyric about you. As the credits of this courtroom drama continue to roll, the ending feels both tragic and poetic. The man who sang about love, redemption, and truth now faces a future defined by lies, exposure, and investigation. And while the judge's final verdict is still pending, one thing's for sure: the court of public opinion has already spoken. Keith Urban isn't just fighting for his career anymore. He's fighting for his legacy. And somewhere in that silent courtroom, among the flashing lights, the chaos, and the whispered rumors, one question lingers in everyone's mind: how many more secrets are still buried under Keith Urban's guitar strings? And there you have it, the courtroom chaos nobody saw coming. From viral footage to hidden files, from country concerts to courtroom confessions, the truth about Keith Urban and Maggie Baugh has officially shaken the music industry to its core. But the question remains, was this a setup or the ultimate betrayal caught in 4K? Was Maggie playing the victim or playing the game? Drop your thoughts below because this story is far from over. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to Lumi Legacy, where every secret, every scandal, and every shocking twist gets exposed, one legend at a time.